Welcome to my tiny workshop. This is an outbuilding in our garden and it really is tiny for a workshop. I try to make it a little bit bigger looking for videos by keeping this back wall nice and clear for filming. But this space is less than the size of a single garage, being around 60 square feet or 5.5 square meters. To put that into perspective, our bed is 39 square feet or 3.6 square meters. So the space in here is only 50% bigger than a bed. That being said, I've managed to fit a lot of tools, equipment and storage in here. Having such a small space means the layout and the organisation of all the tools has to be pretty decent. So I try to keep all of the things that I use most often really accessible, usually either in this top drawer or wall mounted somewhere over here. If you haven't watched the workshop improvement mini series that's led up to this video, I've done a series of improvements to my small workshop and documented them in videos. There'll be a link to that playlist in the end screen of this video, so check that one out next. I'll start with the larger floor standing tools I've got in the workshop. This is the Lumberjack TS254SL table saw, which I recently bought and made this storage stand for. This is on casters and as you can see tucks away under the workbench and then just pulls out when I need to use it. This is a really good budget table saw that I've been very happy with so far. I either have or will be doing tool reviews for most of the main tools in this workshop, so if you want to check those out, there is a separate playlist with all of those videos in on my channel. If you can't be bothered to watch them though, fair enough, just leave me any questions that you might have on a specific tool down below in the comments. The base I built for this has this large drawer and then a storage cubby where I've got a couple of these Stanley Fatmax storage boxes full of screws and other fastenings. In the drawer I keep a lot of regularly used items like this little trim router, air nailer and various bits of PPE. Moving across this back wall where I film most of my talking to camera shots, I've got various different LED signs on the wall. And then in this corner I've got the Lumberjack Pro Series 12-inch bandsaw. This is also on a wheeled base and I move this out into the floor space if I need additional in and out feed space. The base has got shelves which can also store the Fatmax cases and I keep my bandsaw jigs in here as well as a few other little tools and accessories. Next up is my Scheppach Mitre saw. As you can see I do have to slide this out from against the wall to use it due to the rails. But I normally just use it in place here. But if I do need to cut any longer lengths, I just pull it a little bit further out, and if I need to open the door for a very long length, I just do that. Then for storage, I fold it away and it just sits against this wall, turned at 45 degrees just to keep this from protruding out into the room too much. I recently made a zero clearance fence for this, which I use for more accurate cuts and I remove it for rough cuts. Under the Mitre saw I've got my brand new Lumberjack RT 1500 router table. This has been a great addition to the workshop and one I realistically didn't think I could add due to the lack of bench space. So this all-in-one unit is great and I can keep this on the floor for easy access. Plus if the bench is full I can just use this from the floor. Next to those is my 10-inch planer thicknesser. Again, I've mounted this with casters so I can pull it out into the middle of the floor if I need to work on longer boards, or I can even open the door to give me more in-feed and out-feed space. For shorter lengths though, I can just use this where it stands. Keeping everything mobile when you've got very limited floor and wall space is vital. In the base I keep my biscuit jointer and offcuts of various hardwoods. If you're interested in any of the Lumberjack tools, I've now got a discount code which is RENODAN for 5% off all orders. One way I've saved valuable space is by moving my compressor and dust extraction into the shed next door. The airline runs through the wall, along underneath the workbench, comes up here in the corner and along, and then it just coils up here with plenty of reach on the long hose. I recently used this on the log store build with the air nailer, and it reached all the way out of the workshop to the log store. And the reason I moved the dust extraction into the shed was to make space in that corner where the planer thicknesser now lives. This comes through the wall and out of here, where I just keep everything coiled up, and then it's powered on and off by a switch just here under the workbench. Move into this back corner, I've got these tool drawers that I made a little while ago. These are a mess as always, but I keep things that I grab for most often in this top. So I've got bits like impact driver bits, I've got my calipers, which can't be wall mounted, and then I've got various different drill bits in here. Next down is different blades, grinder discs, I've got old knackered chisels, various bits like collets for the routers, scissors, that sort of thing. And then this used to be the main tool drawer, but everything got taken out here, got mounted on the wall, and this is just left as a little bit of an overflow, so that's a little bit of a mess. This is the sanding drawer, so this is where the overflow of sandpaper goes. And then this bottom drawer is filled with various different things, from socket sets to pocket hole jigs, corner clamps, little stands for putting workpieces on for finishing, and yeah, a bit of everything's in there really. Under the workbench I've got this fridge, which we mainly use in the summer when we're out in the garden for drinks. Beer, anyone? I wanted to get rid of that fridge, but we use it all the time over Christmas for the extra food and drinks, so decided to keep it. I am going to be building a new shed though in the next couple of months, so hopefully when that shed build is finished, I can move everything from the shed next door into the new shed, and then there should be space for the fridge in the old shed. Next to the fridge, down there, I keep my track saw, and this is also, like I said, where the vac hose comes through the wall, with this little box here for all of the vac attachments. Inside of this OSB box is a diesel heater to keep the workshop nice and warm during the winter. Ironically though, it's not on now because it's a little bit too noisy for filming, so it's absolutely freezing in here. Then moving on to my trusty workbench. This isn't the greatest workbench in the world, but it gives me a reasonable amount of space to work on projects. I even had to angle the side of this to allow me to even fit through the door. With having such a small space in here, I just wanted a really simple bench top. I couldn't really do anything fancy with it. I have, however, given this a nice little glow up, so it is at least looking a little bit nicer now. On this end of the workbench, I keep my drill press, which can obviously be slid out into the middle if I need it for longer lengths. But to be honest, most of the time I just use it here. Then above here, I keep my drill and impact driver, as well as my Bluetooth ear defenders. I like to keep these things here just because I use them so often, so they're just handy and I can obviously just quickly grab them and put them straight back. Next to this is some more storage with these small drawers holding all sorts of hardware, fixings, mini paintbrushes, hot glue sticks, you name it, it's probably in there. Then this shelf up here is used for various different wood glues, wood finishes, stains, that sort of thing. I recently made this little sanding cubby for my air sander, so I can obviously quickly and easily reach for that. And it's also got the 3 grits of disc that I use most often. And if you're wondering what this thing is, this is shadow foam. You cut this out and obviously you can then store different items in there. I use this for various different electrical accessories. So I've got a stud finder, light, moisture meter, a little pair of earbuds, and then this is the remote control for my air filter. Since I've got obviously quite limited space in here, I made use of the height that I've got available by adding this storage platform. Up here I keep my air filter, which has been an excellent and very healthy addition to the workshop, my homemade sandblast cabinet, and I also keep boxed power tools up here. So I've got plunge router, SDS drill, mini circular saw, those sort of things. I've wall mounted a lot of my hand tools because these were filling obviously a lot of drawer space. So I've put them over here so I can quickly and easily grab for them and stick them back. I've got chisels up the top, screwdrivers, pliers, and then all sorts of other little bits. And I've also made this really easy little storage block for clamping all of my clamps to. So if I need a clamp, I can obviously just take that off and then they just clamp back onto there. If you're wondering about the weird shape of this wall, it's had a chimney removed. We're in an outbuilding here in our garden, and this used to be the wash house. So it had a fireplace in here, but the chimney was removed and supported, which left this random space to box in. But I've still managed to make use of all of this space. So this little alcove is used for all of my charging. I've obviously got the pens mounted there. I've added some drill bit storage under mounted there, and then obviously on the front I've got all of the tools magnetically mounted. Here's a little tape measure storage hack for you. You can use some blunt multi-tool blades which you can screw onto the wall, and then these just slot using the belt loop onto them. Then on this front wall I've got my saws, tracks for the track saw, shovel, and various different things like squares, spare blades and tape stored here. In this area I've wall mounted these nice spanners, and I've also got a couple of spare magnetic strips that can be used in future. Now I do have a little bit of a plan for this wall, but that one's going to have to be for a future video later in the year. If you're wondering where I put all my rubbish from the workshop, I've got this handy little stool that doubles up as a workshop bin. And I also use that as a step stool for reaching up here because, as you can tell, it's quite tall. One handy little thing I've just added around the workshop are these safety glasses holders. So I've got these dotted around next to various tools and by my workbench, so I can always quickly and easily grab a pair. And I think that brings us to the end of this tiny workshop tour. I absolutely love this space, even though I can't really do too many big projects in here. I did build the log store in the workshop, and I actually feel like I could fit more in here. It's crazy to think that I've got a table saw, bandsaw, planer thicknesser, mitre saw, router table, industrial air filter, sandblast cabinet, and a drill press, all in the space of 1.5 beds. Now I've very much done a lot of the stuff here on a budget, so if you're interested in me doing a breakdown video of the cost of all of the tools in here, as well as converting it from an outbuilding into a workshop, just let me know down in the comments. If you want to see what I can do in this workshop, make sure you subscribe to my channel. My goal for 2025 is to hit 10,000 subscribers, so anyone subscribing, I do massively appreciate it. Anyone already subscribed, thank you. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.